And do you think it leaves less room for bias when producers let their music speak for itself, and they're not like someone who's like high profile and always being seen and heard? Because I mean, I'll be honest with you, like for the longest time, I didn't know what you look like. You know, I just read your name and the credits of like, you know, the Pharaoh album, Internal Affairs, and Soundbombing 2, and I was like, okay, Lee Stone, you know, but yeah, but
yeah. Well, see, a lot of that is because I was always working in education and trying to further myself in other areas, you know, and luckily for me, musically, my music did speak for itself, and you know, I guess people felt something for it, so I was able to keep one foot in music while I was still doing other things. Like I never really full steam ahead did music after Internal Affairs full time. You know, it was kind of always me just dabbling in it. So I didn't really have the time and space to do too much of being the representative of Lee Stone, the producer. You know, I just didn't do that. Like interviews, going to the different parties, and just kind of being in the mix that way. I just didn't have the place for that. Now, in terms of your question, it's a funny thing you asked that because I interviewed James Mtume, when I was working for
from Mtume,
Juicy was the biggie rhymes on Juicy. His band Mtume was. So you know he's also he's passed now, but he was also someone who was a philosopher almost, and a real student and a wealth of knowledge when it came to music. So when I interviewed him, and I was working for a poetry magazine at the time, when I interviewed him, he talked about hip hop. One of the problems with hip hop and black music in general is it becomes instant music, you know, because we glorify the producers of the music, not so much the artist all the time. It becomes producer driven, and it makes the music have one-off feeling because you're not kind of grooming the artist, living and breathing with the artist. You're seeing the producers all the time, and you have super producers, and they become bigger than the artist. And then he did the comparison. It's like, well, you know Motown records, but do you know what Doja Holland look like? Do you know what? And I mean, music people do, but the layperson doesn't even know those names. You know, they don't.
Right. A lot of those Motown songs, you didn't know who produced them. You just knew the artist.
And you like the record. You know, and it was hip hop that brought that into the forefront, that we see the producers more, and you have the idea of the super producer. Now, we had super producers, of course, but to have that person be kind of in front of the artist, that became something that you really started to see more of in hip hop. So his feeling when I interviewed him was that was not really a good place for the music. My personal feeling, I understand that, you know, what he means by that, but I also think that it's fine to be known for the work that you do. You take somebody like Timbaland and Dr. Dre. I mean, you're not going to forsake knowing what these men look like. Right. It's just too much work, you know, and too much good work out there for us not to really see what do these people look like that's making this. So I think that a lot of what we do as hip hop producers, we stand on the shoulders of people who came before us and did have the notoriety, like Pete Rock. And I mean, Pete Rock, I remember hearing him talk on the record, and it gave the record flavor, you know. And then I wanted to, and I mean, it got to where I like seeing Pete more than CL because he just that's Pete Rock, you know.
You know, so probably one of the first people to really do the ad libs like that on
what I remember. What I remember. So you know, so I don't think that. I think it's cool that that's done, you know. But I do understand on some point what Mtume was saying as well, where it can supersede, override the artist sometimes, and you know, make the music a little bit kind of instant music or not as valuable because we're not having a chance to appreciate the artist the way we should.
Right.